I think what's happening here is that this is just another branch of the elites in our society on the right and the left becoming mainstreamed. And I want to, and this is kind of the theme of this whole entire episode, is going to be how these elites are losing power, because they are losing power. And I think the key to understanding elitism, cultural elitism inside of our country, is through the lens of what my friend Rob Henderson calls luxury beliefs. I don't know if Rob is my friend, but I think I've met Rob a couple times. I think Rob and I are friendly, and I love Rob's work. I think Rob is one of the most influential thought leaders inside of the entire world. So for those who do not know what a luxury belief is, this is going to blow your brain and melt your brain. So luxury beliefs, the definition for luxury beliefs, and we'll get into who Rob is in a second, but the definition for luxury beliefs is ideas and opinions that confer status on the upper class while inflicting costs on the lower class. Now, like I said, this is probably the best definition of elitism I have ever heard, the best explanation of the elitism that we've seen in our culture that I have ever heard. And no one's really put it in such simple terms until Rob did. Like, when I heard this for the first time, it completely revolutionized the way I thought about stuff. And I said, oh my gosh, that's so right. So again, I'm going to read the definition one more time. Luxury beliefs are ideas and opinions that confer status on the upper class while inflicting costs on the lower class. And again, this explains virtually everything about the way that our world is moving. When you funnel all of these bad ideas through the lens and the definition of luxury beliefs, it explains everything. Now, again, this is created by Rob Henderson. He's a PhD, if that matters. And Rob worked hard for his PhD, so I want to say that it does matter. He wrote a great book on it called Troubled, which it was one of my favorite books I read all of last year. It's on my Substack, and it's also on my podcast for those who are interested in listening. Troubled by Rob Henderson it's a phenomenal book. I believe Rob is one of the smartest up-and-coming thought leaders in the world. He teaches a bunch of courses on Peterson Academy. Jordan is kind of one of his mentors, and he really has helped Rob get platformed in a lot of different ways. He's been on his podcast twice. He's been on Chris Williamson's show a bunch of times. Him and Chris are really good friends. And so when you look at all of the troubles that have been caused by this, so let's look at the practical implications of luxury beliefs. And I'm just going to name a few right off the top of my head that have been caused by luxury beliefs, because luxury beliefs, I think, are like I said, they're the explanation for most everything that has gone wrong inside of our culture. So when it comes to just the chaos that this luxury belief, elitist, expert class, ruling class kind of ideology, they're all over the place if you look at them. The biggest one, I think the most explanational, that's not a word, the most, I would say, easily identifiable, let's put it that way, the most easily identifiable luxury belief that has ever existed in the history of the human race is defund the police. Defund the police. So, and I'm not saying that because I'm on the right, which I am, but when you look at the logic of defund the police is the most pertinent and the most definitionally sound luxury belief ever. Remember our definition: ideas and opinions that confer status on the upper class but inflict costs on the lower class. Who was saying that we should defund the police? Mostly white, suburban to upper class people in service jobs. Politician, lawyer, business executive, everything else. Defund the police, that was everybody that was in a more suburban style, urban style neighborhood. They probably had a security system on their house. They probably had cameras, locks on their doors. Everyone has locks on their doors, but advanced security systems. Many of them could pay for private security by themselves, by the way. They lived in a nicer area, so the thought of theft or carjacking or violent crime was not a big thought in their head. And who did not have all those things? Poor people. Poor people did not have those things. And who needs the police to step in more than the upper class? Poor people need that. Poor people are overwhelmingly more suspect to carjackings, to assault, to murder, to rape, to theft, to everything that happens inside of an area where there is a lot of rampant crime. And so when you look at all of this opinion was so dangerous. Think about the damage this caused, by the way, after the 2020 madness where we had cities burning down and stuff. Defunding the police, my home city that I live in right now, Austin, defunded, I think, the police by like a third of their budget, and crime in Austin spiked. We had a crime wave from about 2020 up until 2023, I think. It kind of slowed down a little bit this year. It might be picking up, I don't know. But it was everywhere. I mean, it was the most violent, criminally rife time in recent American history. They basically, like in San Francisco, I believe you can things from like a CVS, if they're less than $750 in value, you can just walk in and steal stuff out of a CVS, out of a medicine cabinet, and just walk out, and they can't prosecute you. Like, think about that. And the people that are running a CVS, or they're running a Walgreens, they're running a Target, like, these people are not wealthy. I mean, they're doing probably fine, but they're probably middle class. Like, if you operate like a franchise of like a McDonald's or a CVS pharmacy or something like that, you need licenses, yes. You need probably a little bit of sense of business, yes. But you're operating a general store. And if people can just come in and pillage your shelves and not really have anything to answer for them, no police to stop them, no anything else, it's a catastrophe. It's awful. So defunding the police is, I think, the most definitionally sound luxury belief ever. Another one that I think is really, really interesting to look at is when people say, oh, marriage is an outdated institution. If you are a top-performing, high-earning man in a corporate job, I have a free gift for you, the Value Economist Handbook. In this book, you'll find a bulletproof, crystal clear, and step-by-step roadmap to build your values, systematize them into an unbeatable portfolio, and leverage them to create an unshakable identity that leads to fulfillment, meaning, and purpose. So, if you want a free copy, go down to the description below, fill out your information, and we'll send one over to you right away. Now, let's get back to today's video. Again, the question we should ask after someone says something like that luxury belief that is so stupid and so elitist and so harmful to so many people is, okay, what happens if we get rid of marriage? What happens if we get rid of marriage? So, for example, single parenthood goes up, wealth goes down among families because families are broken, lawyer costs, children stop flourishing to the best of their ability. People don't find happiness and fulfillment inside of a romantic relationship. That's a horrible thing that happens. And again, who says these things and who gets the cost downstream of these things? These are people my age, the young 20, 30 somethings who are into polygamy and like, I'm not going to commit to anybody. And, I'm a strong, independent woman. I don't need to support a family. I'm just going to be a top G, whatever. And it's these people, it's people like me. And I don't say this, but people around me say these things that, who needs marriage? Marriage kind of sucks. Marriage is a bad deal for men. It sucks for women. It's this, whatever. And so when people try to apply that in the lower class of society, in the working and poor and impoverished classes, you see the marriage rates there are abysmal compared to wealthier people. The same thing, children are a burden to my flourishing. Religion sucks. When you take children out of a society, and this is happening right now, I'm reading a great book by Tim Carney called Family Unfriendly about the just destruction of the American family and the birth rates and all these other things, and that's my pet obsession for a long time. When we say children are a burden and I can't afford children or I can't, whatever to kids, our society suffers tremendously. When you take God out of a society, when you take religious structure out of a society, the divide, it's the debasement from morality, because this is the rule of law issue. All laws and enforcement of morality. Anyone who says otherwise is not, they're just wrong, to be frank. When you look at all of these things, again, these are elite opinions, predominantly by wealthy, well-off, progressive, young to middle-aged people that are saying these things. And when you look at all of these issues, when you look at the marriage issue, the defund the police issue, the children issue, the religion issue, and you could walk down the line with all of these things. The dividing line has nothing to do with anything that the woke crowd, which is primarily the people who say this, the woke people, say that it does. But it has everything to do with a much peskier and much harder problem to solve, which is class. Class is the dividing line in America. It's not race. It's not gender. It's not sexual orientation. It's not political orientation. It's not any of those things. The number one factor that is dividing people in our society is class. And that's not just necessarily economic class, even though that's a part of it. It is kind of the establishmentarian ruling class against kind of the overall population, regardless of political orientation. We talked about this with Bobby Kennedy and Donald Trump and why that, fusion was so seismic. So, and when you look at, again, the issues that I just said, marriage, children, religion, police, public services, etc., they all overwhelmingly harm the poor. The rich do not really get affected by any of these things. And honestly, the rich are all married, mostly. They mostly all have children. They mostly all practice some sorts of religion. I'm not talking the crazy celebrity people. They mostly all are in well-guarded, safe communities, and they all probably use some form of public services, like the fire department and the water department and all these type of things. But we don't hear anything about this at all in our discourse. And again, this has led to this development of like thought leaders and experts inside of our ruling class developing a superiority complex about their actual importance, which these people are largely not important at all when you think about it like this, especially when they're saying stupid ideas like this. And unfortunately, because of that, these ideas have exploded inside of our mainstream discourse, which is how we have gotten, again, nearly every bad idea ever inside of our modern era. And this is kind of like, again, I think everything at a certain extent can be disseminated down to luxury beliefs, what they are, and who says them. Because, again, the defining line in America, I'm not a Marxist. I'm not saying this for, like, trust me, I'm not. But I'm a very pro-worker. I'm a pro-working poor class, getting people out of poverty. I really advocate for those people. I know a lot of those people back at home. My family was those people. I'm not like, and I guess I am an elite. So I guess maybe this is a bit, whatever for me to say, because I, make good money and I have a company and I do business online and I work in the service industry and whatever, which is fine. And I own that, but I really care about these people. I really do. And they're lovely people. They're wonderful people. And the big reason I moved out of the city was to do this. I do not live in Austin, Texas. I live in a suburb, in a working middle class community where they're like kids and families and people that aren't, balling in a Lamborghini type things I see all the time downtown Austin. I wanted to get away from that, and I wanted to get closer to everyday regular people. And I love everyday regular people because they are the most interesting people. They're the most fun people. They're the most grounded people. They're the most religious people, to be frank, which it just shows how ridiculous these luxury beliefs ideas are.